Hey, what's up? Dean's here, Performance, and we are flipping the camera too quick. But we're back. Day two, Tom's car. Technically, day two. Yesterday, I got the hot side all built. Basically, got everything pulled off. The old turbo kit, wastegate, exhaust, downpipe, whatever you want to call it. So yesterday, I got the turbo kit built, and I didn't realize at first when I built it that I completely screwed up the flange for the housing, and I had it turned 90 degrees. So that if I had bolted the turbo on, either the downpipe would have been going here, or flip it and the downpipe would have been going here. Not at all what I wanted. So I posted that, and so that's where did you notice the mistake, or did you catch the mistake? So that was the mistake, big mistake. But what I did was I cut right there, and I turned the pipe 90 degrees, put everything back in there, marked it, welded it, and got the turbo on. So today I'm going to start working on the downpipe. And like I said, I think I'm going to try and carry it down to where that pipe is. So I basically, that piece of pipe right there that's sitting on the floor now, the 5-inch, is what's left of like I think a 6-foot or a 5-foot section that I basically chopped and chopped and chopped. These are all pie cuts. So they're 7.5 degrees. Each cut makes a total of 15 degrees, which all need to be cleaned up. But you take them and just stack them. 6 of them will make a 90. 3 of them will make a 45. So basically just keep stacking them, and you get a 45 out of that one. Something like that. Keep going, you'll get a 90. You could even keep going farther, get a U-bend, but it'll keep it really, really tight. Like this is your typical 3-inch U-bend. And it's like a 6-inch radius. So it's a pretty big sweep. If you were to take this and cut a bunch of pie cuts, you could actually make this into like probably a 3-inch radius. It all depends. The tighter you keep the short side of your pie cut, the tighter radius you can get. So if you were to make this really, really wide, you know, it's going to separate the pieces farther and farther and make a bigger radius. You keep this really, really short, the angles will add up quicker in a sense. Not that they add up quicker, but they make a shorter radius bend, if that makes sense. So typically what I do when I cut pie cuts is I make a variation of different lengths. So like that one's probably a little bit on the wider side for me. It's not quite, it's maybe a 1/2 inch. So I have quite a few of those that I cut. Another one there, and then I cut shorter ones. That one's a little bit shorter. There's another one that's a little bit shorter. Another one that's a little bit shorter. Another one, so on and so forth. And then the end, this is the end. So like the beginning of the pipe, it's actually straight with 7.5 degrees. I save these because it's only 7.5 degrees. That's what it'll give you to a straight. So you'll see a lot of people in the video, they'll take pie cuts and they'll set them underneath, which I do it too. And it's very hard to do with one hand. But instead of going, you know, direct to direct, you'll offset it. And it'll change the end angle on both sides. So you can offset it, you know, quite a bit. Because if you were to go all the way around, big to big, that goes back. That gives you basically a straight to a straight, you know, little piece. So as you start to turn it, it starts to angle a little bit more and a little bit more. So you see a lot of times where you have to do that, where you have to change the angle. But what it also does is changes both sides. So now you're shooting kind of two different ways. It's hard to see. So you're kind of shooting it two different ways, two different angles, like a up and a over, you know, or a down and an over. With this one, you can do that finish angle and have the straight point right where you want to go. So I always save these, and I usually end up using them just to get a tiny little bit. Like if you were aiming for a particular spot, like that hole, hypothetically, if you were aiming for that, you know, and you needed just a hair, you know, you can roll that one and constantly have the straight stay straight. And you can keep rolling it. It'll point it a little bit forward, a little bit down, a little bit this way, a little bit that way, continuously, you know, and you could have just that little bit, you know. So, a little tip, but I'm going to jump on this. I feel like crap again. So, hopefully, either I'll finish the downpipe or I'll pass out, one or the other. But, I'm going to get to work and we'll be back. Okay, so I used a lot of pie cuts, but I have a ton left and still need a few more. But this is what I ended up with. Basically, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 on the top. So it's basically a 90 right here, almost. There's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not quite a 90. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not quite a 90. But the little piece of straight down there, I left the 7.5 degree cut on it. I'm not sure if I left it on the bottom or the top though. Anyways, so I put a little piece of straight, and then I got a bunch of more pie cuts, and it's turned out pointing somewhat toward the back a little bit, but I'm not going to go too much farther with it because it's going to become hard to get in that spot between the header, manifold, whatever you want to call it, the water pump, and the hose. So right now it's just kind of barely off of the manifold, which I'm fine with that. It's off the water pump and it's off the lower radiator hose. You could always wrap it down through that spot there, but it keeps a small package. Instead of going out and down and under, this way the charge pipe, which is way over there, right there, I'll be able to come down. I can turn that up a little bit more. I can come down and across the front, like just out behind the radiator, but just below the radiator, so that it doesn't get any kind of, avoid as much heat soak as I can going across. The jack is underneath the elbow just because I don't have the bit to do the mount for the turbo, and it will drop the turbo. So I ordered a V-band. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a V-band right there. I'm gonna figure out what that bolt is just kind of hanging out. It looks like it's just a bolt hanging out of the frame. I may end up cutting that. I'll probably most likely take that nut off, move the ground strap to that nut, and then cut that bolt off to give myself a little more room. The transmission lines, I'll figure those out. Like I said, I may end up wanting to take the transmission cooler off of the lower valance like that and route it somewhere to the back. It's usually a better spot for it. I'm gonna talk to Tom tonight, but the downpipe is pretty much, you know, done to the for the first section. I got to, right now, what I'm gonna do is take and weld a bung in, like probably right here on this one, right there, so that the O2 sensor will be out like this, easily accessible. It's not on the downside of the exhaust. It's kind of up around the top. I mean, I could put it here if I wanted to, but I'd rather keep it a little bit away from the manifold. It's away from the manifold, but I'd rather it not be, you know, sitting like that. But I'm gonna do that real quick, and then I'm getting out of here for the day. So pretty much day 2 on Tom's car. Downpipes, so I'll say 50% done. That's kind of the hard spot. We'll call it 70% done. V-band won't be here for a couple of days. I should have the milling bit, so I should be able to make the turbo mount tomorrow. As long as I can get that turbo mount done, that'll be huge, because then I can work on the drain, the feed. I can get all that done. And I mean, at that point, pretty much the car would be ready to fire up and, you know, spin the turbo. So maybe tomorrow. Yeah, we'll see. But I appreciate you watching. Stay tuned. Tom's, what are these called? The SN95, but they call them something else. Frickin' crap. That'll be the name of the video. Appreciate you watching. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe. Leave me a comment. Have a good day.